What up, guys? It's your boy King Remy with another episode, and tonight we talking about not placing expectations over reality because you'll be the only one disappointed. You know, I'm big on that. That's something I came up with a long time ago. Never placing expectations above the reality because in the end you'll be the only one disappointed. Uh, something I mean by that is if you expecting somebody, just say for instance, you got a friend or somebody that you rock with, and you expecting them to give you 9 backflips, and they give you 7 because that's all they had. You gonna be the only one upset that they didn't give you 9. The person that gave you 7, they're not gonna be upset because they gave you all they had. You was the one that was expecting more. In a lot of situations, it's better to be surprised than disappointed, because if you place expectations out there, then it's a very big chance that you'll end up disappointed. But if you don't place expectations out there, it's a greater chance that you'll end up surprised by whatever if it goes your way. If you didn't expect nothing and they do what should have been done in the situation, be like, oh well, damn, I didn't think you would do. Well, I didn't expect nothing from the situation. Never place your expectations above the reality. You'll be the only one disappointed suggests the importance of aligning our perceptions and hopes with actual circumstances we face. It's real life situations. Expectations, are what are broke down. I say expectations are beliefs or assumptions about how things should be. Like in a situation, what you feel it should be, whether it's with a spouse or a buddy or whatever, friendships, relationships, any type of ships. It's what you feel it should be. But expectations are beliefs or assumptions about how we think things should be. And these are often based off of personal beliefs, desires, societal norms, or past experience. These are expectations. And in a lot of these situations, we don't realize when we're placing these expectations above, the reality of the situation. And then reality refers to the actual state of affairs unaffected by our hopes and wishes. Let's say that. The day-to-day stuff, the situations we be placed in, sometimes where we placing expectations on things. We have to understand that high expectations can lead to disappointment when reality falls short of these expectations or these ideals. You know what I'm saying? These ideals that you set out there for somebody. Nobody's knowing. Again, like I said, you expected 9 backflips. This person's gonna give you 7 or 8 because that's all they got. In a lot of situations, we don't realize that friends and family, like just flawed signs of people, it all comes out. They eventually show who they truly are, or their true ways. We just make excuses for it, like, nah, that wasn't really it, or it was because of this or because of that. And then when the unfortunate situation happens, we'd be like, damn, I wish I would have known that, or I wish, I would have seen it coming. You did see it. It's just that we make excuses when we're in those moments when somebody shows us, just say for instance, you got a buddy that's a little loose with information. You're gonna see it before it comes to the end. You're gonna see the flawedness. You're gonna see the stuff that make you kind of, what I'm saying, look at somebody side eyed, and you're gonna make an excuse for it, and you're gonna continue to rock with something until you burn, because we place expectations over reality. You expected him to be a 100 person, a solid person, somebody you can count on, or whatever it may be, and that's not going to be the case. And in that situation, you're going to be the only one upset, not that person because they being true to who they are. It's you that's placing an expectation on stuff. It's you expecting something to be that way. I find myself in that situation a whole lot with people that I deal with. And this is not a right or wrong. This is just a more of a knowledgeable thing for us to move with. We don't realize when we dealing with some people the expectations we place on them, even if it's wanting them to do better, even if it's wanting them to succeed. Sometimes those expectations can become a burden, because somebody can feel where they slack, and when you come around it might be like a constant reminder of what they need to do. You know what I'm saying? That the conversations you have with a person can place expectations on them, and it become a situation where y'all both gonna be disappointed because this person is expecting this and you expecting that. And it just, if those expectations aren't met, then it's almost likely gonna be a falling out. I have to get out of that myself. I'm learning from how I move myself, trying to improve my resilience in dealing with situations, trying to have cognitive dissonance, you know what I'm saying, to understand the gap between expectations and reality, you know, leading to the feelings of frustration. The dissonance in this situation can negatively impact mental health and well-being. Now that we at it, so you have to be conscious in a lot of situations. What are you expecting, and is it realistic? You know, enhance acceptance, meaning that embracing the reality can lead to reduce feelings of disappointment and frustrations. You won't feel so put out in a situation because you didn't expect so much. We have to understand these things when we dealing with people sometimes in friendships and everything. We have to set realistic goals to accomplish. We need to embrace flexibility. We need to embrace flexibility, being able to accept how some of our homies, like, say you got some partners that work certain shifts and can't get certain things done, or your girls at work or whatever it is. You have to be able to be flexible. You have to embrace flexibility, and you have to find a way to make it work if you want it to work. But not trying or placing expectations that it would iron itself out without some type of steps or some type of system being implemented. It's just going to lead to catastrophe, because again, you're placing the expectations above the reality of that situation. You expecting it to be more than what it is, not being flexible that people have things going on. And then you also have to tell yourself, if this guy works 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, what type of engagement would they be able to commit to? They wouldn't be able to commit to no type of engagement. And you yourself have to understand that that's just a buddy or somebody trying to commit, and you have to figure out a way to make it work. Because honestly, that may not work. That may not work in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't go. You can't drag everybody along with you when you're trying to go somewhere and do something. You're not gonna be able to take everybody. The more people that you try to take, the more difficult that it's gonna be. You can always get somewhere and come back and offer help. But if you have nothing yourself, how can you drag somebody else with you with nothing? You know, One thing that I was big on when my situation happened, and I split from my ex. I moved to West Virginia, and I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice to take my daughter and drag her along with me through whatever endeavors that I was about to embark on. Going here, going there, with having her in a whole nother state with me and shit. Trying to work, and I didn't know nothing about these mountains inside counties, so I sent my daughter to live with her mama, and it was. She took it hard. She took it real hard because she didn't want to be away from me. You know what I'm saying? She didn't want to go. She took it real hard, but she didn't understand the reality of the situation. She expected me to drag her through whatever I was going through because she's my daughter, and I just had more respect and more love in the situation, more empathy in the situation. To It was tough to walk away from my daughter, but I knew that the journey I was getting ready to embark on, it wouldn't have been nothing for her. So I didn't expect nothing out of the situation. They don't speak to me. She don't speak to me to this day because of that, and I don't expect her to because I don't expect her to understand what I'm going through or what I was going through at the time. She's a child. I don't expect her to see my point of view or where I'm coming from, how I didn't, try to get my shit together. She's her expectations is above the reality of the situation between me and her. I'm their father trying to rebuild from a bad relationship, then lost everything, don't trust nobody. And it kind of trickled downhill, had all these people that I kind of got into it with, fell out with everybody. I fell out with everybody because mentally I didn't give two shits about nothing no more. I didn't care what nobody felt about nothing. So, whatever you expected of me, 9 times out of 10, you wasn't getting it. You was going to get whatever the fuck I gave. And it left a lot of people disappointed in me. It left a lot of people disappointed. And it burnt a lot of bridges with people and everything, but it is what it is. Nobody understood my mental state, and I can't in turn now try to place my expectations above the reality of what I done when I left, as far as stopping talking to people or the arguments, falling out with people, getting upset. You know what I'm saying? Just the all the shit that probably went down. I'm not expecting people to you know let it go and hey Mariah, how you doing and what's going on, buddy? Like, nah, I don't expect none of that. But I do expect you to stay away from me, stay out my face. That's the bare minimum. If it goes any other way, if I see y'all and some of y'all speak or whatever and say what's up, then I understand what it is, and I'll be surprised by that. But expecting anything from anybody, I don't do it no more. I'd rather be surprised than disappointed because my disappointment might lead to a cussing out or something, or a fallout that we might not be able to be friends no longer, no more after that. So I try to live in the reality. Clear and realistic expectations can foster healthy relationships as communication becomes more open and misunderstandings are minimized because you're talking about things, you expressing what it is, and it may give people more context on which way to take something in the situation. You know, focus on gratitude. Know that be appreciative with what some people give you because you don't know if that's somebody's all or whatever it is. Like try to see if your expectations are unreal. Like what are you expecting, and then why do you expect what you expect? Like is it realistic? Is it over the reality of this person you're standing in front of or the situation or whatever may be going on? You have to think of these things. Adjusting your expectations in life. A good tool for adjusting expectations would be journaling. Write down your expectations and compare them to the reality. Reflect on the outcomes that may happen from situations and adjust them to your future expectations. It's a million ways. Well, it's not a million. Well, it's several ways that you can try to assess situations, and it all starts with a thought or a train of thought. We have to understand the unreal expectations that we have, and that's huge with black women, black men, white women, white men, every culture. The expectations that we placed on people sometimes be unrealistic. You expect, and say that strong-minded woman expects a man to do this and do that and do this and do that and do this and do that. But if a man does this and do that and does this and do that and has his own and does this, he's not gonna take it. So you have to understand, are your expectations above the reality of the situation? Like if you a strong minded woman, you aggressive and strong minded, then you might want you a passive dude because an aggressive woman and an aggressive man, it's not gonna work. It's gonna be all type of clashing because you feel some type of way about this and you expecting something, and then he's feeling some type of way about this and he's expecting something. But the reality is the expectations are clashing because they're over the reality of the situation. The dude might not have a job. The woman might be the one to take care of him, or the girl might not have a job, and the dude's the one to take care of her. You know, and you expecting this dude to do whatever when that's his money, or whatever the case may be. You know, we have to try to be surprised than to expect some unrealistic shit. You know, this above the reality of people and the situations that we may be in sometimes. So, you know, it's just another little quick video. I ain't gonna hold y'all up too long. Get ready to jump on this live, make some beats or something. But I just want to, tap in with y'all and try to keep it going with little stuff that I do, and maybe y'all catch some of these short videos or some of these little 10, 15-minute videos that I do when I'm just dropping game. But I do pull up on a lot of people and sit and have conversations with other people. But sometimes I sit here, well, for the most part, I sit here and try to give y'all game, try to be a resource. I'm always stressing that, trying to be a resource for people to learn some type of mental awareness, mental health situations. Because I myself, I ain't perfect. I'm striving every day trying to change mentally, and I'm learning how to cope with shit, how not to place my expectations above the reality of shit. Even though I do it a lot, I be expecting the loyalty and the love that I give people to sometimes be reciprocated. And when it's not, I'm always the one that's disappointed. And I'm trying to get to the point myself mentally to not expect shit from nobody. So that's why I kind of stay to myself. That's why I'm antisocial, don't deal with a lot of people and all that, because I'm just tired. Like I'm tired of looking for solid people. I'm tired of trying to find real people in a bunch of fake ass land. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just mocks all around me. It's people that don't realize. It's people that think they got more emotion than they got. Like I don't, I can't explain it. It's that's just the simpleness of it. People think they have more emotion than they have, and you can't tell them shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Image is perspective. Perspective is reality. You can't say don't judge a book by its cover when all of us, if we shopping for books and we don't know what we're looking for, we just walk into a bookstore, we judge it by the cover. We're gonna read the book cover and see what the plot is and all of that. We're gonna judge it by the cover. We're gonna read it and see if it's, oh, it sounds interesting. We're not just gonna just grab a book, any book in the library, and just start reading it. You look for something that may be entertaining, maybe the title of the book's catchy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? These are real things. So, you know, again, I ain't gonna hold y'all. I just wanted to, I keep on going, long winded. You know what I'm saying? Loquacious. But it's your boy Mariah. Thank y'all for locking in with me, rocking with another episode, and I hope y'all enjoyed this shit. Till the next time, my mouth.